Hi everybody, Ian Dainty here again, and I want to talk to you about issues in opening new business-to-business accounts. And my first question is, and I've got a whole bunch of issues here we're going to deal with, but are you having trouble with the following? Getting into corporate accounts, trying to break into corporate accounts, trying to reach decision makers if you do get into them, being told you're too expensive, and then you end up selling on price, wasting time with people who won't commit, growing from a vendor to a trusted business advisor, or as well as many other reasons for not buying your products and services. I'm sure you're running into one or more of these, as well as probably ones I haven't listed here. So what I did is I recently asked readers of my blog and my newsletter to send in the major issue they're facing right now, and I got some really good ones, and some of them overlap. We're going to deal with 3 or 4 major ones here that people are having trouble with. So here's one from Tom. Tom says, having the right strategy, messaging, and effort to reach top-level executives on the phone with a compelling message. How do you do that? Well, here's my answer to that. Calling executives out of the blue, or cold calling, has always been tough. And I'm not a believer in cold calling at all. And I just think with today's tools like call waiting and call display and how busy everybody is because they're all doing 3 jobs, it's very difficult to get a hold of executives. There is one way to do it, and that's if you have a very compelling message. A compelling message is something that you have because you've helped another company with similar problems, that you've been told or you've been given this person's name as a referral from somebody that they know, or you're using somebody within their industry, or you realize that they're a similar industry and may have a similar problem to one you've solved for another client. So unless you have a very compelling message, you're going to have trouble getting through. And then of course is the executive assistants, who some people will call gatekeepers, that you run into all the time, and you have to find your way through that. And the best way that I find is you say, excuse me, I wonder if you could help me. I'm looking for somebody this. So that's the best way to do it. As I mentioned, I don't like cold calling. You can do warm calling, as I mentioned above. So you have to find a way to get the executive's attention, which I talked about before, a compelling message or referral. And you're going to deal with gatekeepers all the time. So that's something you got to do. But the real key here is having a compelling message. And we're going to talk about that in the webinar I'm going to run on Thursday, how you put through a compelling message. Here's one from Javier. How do you make sense of all the social media opportunities and still keep everything under control? In order to use each tool well, you have to spend hours learning them. Twitter, I think he meant Twitter here, Hootsuite, Foursquare, so much to learn and so little time. Reminds me of another saying that I think women say. Anyway, we won't get into that one. So what's the answer here? Well, I'm not a social media guru by any chance, by any stretch of the imagination. I certainly use it. I use LinkedIn quite a bit, and I've got some business through LinkedIn, and I think it can work well when you set up your profile properly. I use Twitter a little bit and Facebook a little bit. I have a fan page on Facebook, and it seems to be starting to draw some people. Excuse me. And Hootsuite, of course, is one where you can keep them all under control. A lot of the other ones I'm not familiar with because a lot of times we're too busy doing, trying to work with clients and doing other things. So there is a lot of new media out there, and trying to figure out which one is which will leave for the gurus and of course yourself to a certain extent. As Javier said, I think there are just so many. I don't know how you learn them all. You just go through it. I really like LinkedIn for B2B. I don't know of too many others that are good for B2B, but LinkedIn is really good. Whether Google AdWords is considered a social media or not, I really like it, and I think it can help drive traffic. And search engine optimization, where you optimize your website to get traffic, is also key, where you get backlinks and use videos to get YouTube, because Google owns YouTube. Of course, the other social media one now is Google Plus, and I think they're competing with kind of a LinkedIn and Facebook. So I don't know how you keep track of them and keep following and keep on top of it. The one I really like though is LinkedIn, as far as social media, and I think it may have some possibilities as we move forward. Here's one from Paul. I agree with the frustration about quality being thrown out the window for the sake of doing what's cheap. My business is built on providing custom, top quality graphic solutions along with smart, integrated design strategies for achieving maximum marketing impact. It may cost a little more up front, but it's the best way for business to cut through the noise. I agree, Paul. Great one. Don't sell on price. If you start selling on price, you're going to lose because the big guys will out discount you eventually. And it's a fool's game selling on price, as I just mentioned, because you'll eventually lose it. And how do you know what price to put it at? I mean, what's the best price? Most people use a cost plus example, and I think that's wrong. I think there's a better way to do it, and that's by value. We'll talk about that in a sec. You can discount in two exceptions. One is if you have a first-time offer, and you notice the cell phone companies do that all the time, where they have, if you're first in there, they'll give you a bit of a deal, 2 months free if you sign a 3-year lease, all of that stuff. And also if you're trying to get rid of inventory. Now this is hard inventory, hard goods inventory. Obviously you can't say you've got a whole bunch of inventory if you're selling downloadable software or ebooks or something like that. So you can discount that, you can give them a deal, etc. But what you really need to do is sell value. Too many people sell on features, they don't sell value, they don't say here's what you're going to get. You got to sell the benefits, the value that people are going to get, and that'll really, really make you a top-notch marketer and also help your business a lot. I'm going to talk about value a lot in the webinar on Thursday, so please be prepared to sign up for it. Here's one from Diane. Excuse me. Besides writing and speaking, my husband and I are partners in a business consulting firm. One of the biggest issues we see about what our clients is a sense of insecurity about what changes are coming and how to best handle them for excuse me, for a sustained business future. People are slow to commit because of it. You're very right, Diane, and look what's happened in the U.S. lately with their debt crisis and trying to get the right ceiling for to pay off their current debt, meet their current demands, and also what's happening in Europe. And now Italy's in deep trouble, and they don't think they'll be able to bail them out. They've already bailed out Greece and Ireland, and Italy and Spain are in trouble, so no wonder clients are a little hesitant these days. But what you have to do is understand the client's motivation. Why do they want to move their business forward? You need to talk to them on a personal level. You need to get into their heads about what motivates them personally as well as from a business sense. If you do that, you're going to get ahead. And I know all salespeople struggle here. My webinar is going to go through that, about how to get through to people on the personal or emotional level. You have to uncover the real reasons, and the only way you can do that is on a personal level, the real reasons and issues and problems that people have. Why, and you got to give them a reason why they would buy from you as opposed to somebody else, and that can only come from value. You have to understand the impact that your product or service can have on their business from a business perspective and again a personal perspective. You have to understand that. And as I go through the game plan as one of my topics on Thursday in the webinar that I'm going to make available to you and give it on Thursday, it'll really help you get into the personal aspect of it. So that's my answer to that one. Other issues people come across: no budget, gatekeepers, decision influence, and makers. Who are they? So let's look at each one of these. Budget. We have 3 factors in the budget. What is the real issue that people really have, as we talked about? Most people call too low. They deal with gatekeepers all the time because they start calling too low in an organization, and you've got to get to the decision maker very quickly. And the real key is to sell value and keep your product or service behind your back, is a phrase I like that I picked up somebody used years ago that I saw. And we're going to talk about that, about how to sell against budget in the webinar. And then, of course, you got gatekeepers. Gatekeepers, well, who are they? Well, they're executive assistants. We talked about that. It could be human resources, could be the IT department, could be operations, it could be legal, it could be the financial department. There's all kinds of examples. And we talked about the executive assistant example, where the best way to get through an executive assistant is say, can you please help me? I'm looking for the person that does this. And I understand that you would know that, and I would like to talk to the person who is ultimately in charge of that. And that's how you get into the real financial decision makers. People at our executive assistants know more about the business than almost anybody, particularly the executive assistant of the CEO. So work with them. Don't try and fight with them. Work with them. And of course, how do I understand who all of the decision makers and influencers are in my sale? Well, there's four influencers: the financial people, the people who sign the checks; the users, the people who are going to use your product; the gatekeepers, we just talked about all of them; the box tickers, as I call them, because they can say no, but they can't say yes, and I'm going to go through them in detail. And then, of course, the best thing to do is have a champion, particularly if it's the financial buyer or influencer. You're gonna go ahead a lot. Again, we're going to talk about these in depth on my webinar on Thursday, so you'll understand how to get through to each one of them and how each of them, what impact your product or service has. The other thing you got to look at is many times these influencers are in groups, so you've got to convince a group. The economic times will influence, and we're really still struggling in the world. They're talking about a double dip recession after the one we had in 08 and 09. So it'll make the sales cycle even longer, and you have to understand what role each influencer plays and how you work with them in that role. And again, that will come on Thursday. So what I'd like you to do is leave your comments below. I'd also like you to like the video with the like button. And tune in tomorrow, because I'm going to have another video for you about ways that you can get new business right now and open up some new business right now. However, if you want to register for the webinar today, please go to this link, or just use the link below if you can, and copy and paste it, or just click on it, and you'll be able to register for the webinar today.